You're in Braves country. You're in Braves country.
Oh, baby! How about this? Your Atlanta Braves have signed Ha-Seong Kim. It is a done deal. We'll get into it here in 1 second. But we are here for just a few minutes to get you caught up on what's going on as the Atlanta Braves news just broke that Ha-Seong Kim will return on a 1-year deal. Now, I didn't have time to fire up all my computers, so I have to look off to the side to catch the comments. I do have one monitor in front of me, so I hope to hell I see it. And I look, I know a lot of y'all have probably already hit the hay. I'm going to use you as my sound check guy. Does everything sound okay? Because I didn't have time to check it. I was trying to jump on here before everybody went to bed. I do agree. It is a great signing, fantastic signing. We'll get into why it's a great signing, and hopefully my audio is A-okay. I haven't gotten an okay yet from Aswaz. Maybe Peter can hear it, and if not, I'm going to have to stop what I'm doing, and I'm going to have to check it because I did not have my typical setup to get ready. So anyways, we'll continue. Okay, cool. Thank you, Peter. So Ha-Seong Kim, a 1-year deal, $20 million. Now, remember, had he signed or had he accepted if he not had opted out, he had a player option is what I'm trying to get at. If he had not opted out, he would have gotten a 1-year, $16 million deal. So it's a good deal for him. He gets an extra $4 million. I think it's a good deal for the Braves. Now, who knows? They may try to extend him, but they wanted to get him in a camp, right? And 1 year, $20 million. Thank you, Aswaz. 1 year, $20 million means that he can go hit the market if he raises his numbers. He's going to be a little long in the tooth next offseason. We're talking about probably a work stoppage. I think there's a good chance that we can see a long-term deal here with the Braves and Kim. Unless the Braves just have other options that they're thinking about with the kids that they drafted or whatnot, and they only want the 1-year rental. We could see it go either way. But a 1-year deal, $20 million, what that means in the big scheme of things as a Braves fan is that 100%, Peter, we have a World Series contender once again this year. This was the biggest one. Remember, I was talking about this all last few weeks, was that this is the guy that I wanted over any of them, over any of the free agents, because he was going to be the key to what you could do on a daily basis. And now that you can put Ha-Seong Kim right there with the rest of the guys in the infield, so you're talking about assuming health, you're talking about Austin Riley, good power hitting third baseman, solid glove. Ha-Seong Kim at short, solid hitter, nothing outstanding, but a solid hitter, a guy that you can expect an OPS of about a 700, which I've always, if you've listened to our broadcast over the years, I've always said 700 to me is the minimum for me to say you're having a solid season. Not a great season. You could even argue that 700 OPS is the floor for a good season. But it means that you're getting on base and you're not just slapping the ball when you're getting on base and you have a decent average. What you can expect from him over the years is about a 250 batting average, give or take 10 points. and somewhere between 15 to 20 home runs. That's not nothing when you're talking about the shortstop position. I know we got a little spoiled over the years with the Dansby Swanson getting him in his prime, but have you seen what Dansby Swanson's been doing nowadays? Honest engine, I'd probably rather have Ha-Seong Kim at this point. He's got a little more range, and his bat is going to be just as good. Dansby might be a tad above him, but you'd still be locked in to Dansby for what did he sign for 25, 27 a year as it scales up, and you'd still be on the hook for the next few years. Remember, the Braves signed or drafted their first 3 draft picks this offseason, or this draft season, June. First week of June, they drafted a high school shortstop in the first round, and he is a kid that they're looking at long term. So we're talking about 4 or 5 years from now, right? But then they drafted 2 other shortstops in college, and the hopes would be one of them can contribute by 2027. If not, you may have to go out and try to find something like a Ha-Seong Kim again, unless they go ahead and lock him up and get an extension, because Anthopoulos has been known to do that. Sign a guy, get him into camp, and they start reading the tea leaves and going, man, what kind of market you think you're going to have when you hit free agency next year, and they're going to slam the door shut, and you're not going to be able to do the same kind of negotiations that you're doing right now, because the season ended this year in November 1st. So we've had a couple of months now of negotiating. You'll have a few more months now negotiating. Next year, if there is a lockout, a shutdown, a strike, whatever you want to call it, depending on how it gets spun, either way, it's a work stoppage. The work stoppage will begin right after the World Series, and you won't be able to talk to anybody, agents or anybody, on the other side. So in other words, the clubs cannot negotiate until something gets figured out. And if it doesn't get figured out till the spring, you're going to have a really short window to jump into the free agency pool, and anybody that knows what they're doing is signing a deal to get past next year. I'm a little surprised that Kim didn't try to get a 2-year deal similar to what we just saw, who the Mets signed, Polanco, on a 2-year, $40 million. I'm surprised he didn't give himself at least a player option for $16 million, somewhere in that neighborhood, for the following year. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. I do think there's a solid chance that we get an extension. But what you need to know right now is that Ha-Seong Kim is Atlanta Brave. He'll be in the starting lineup every single day. So what does that mean? We've got a good offensive weapon and solid defense at third. Great defense and a solid offensive weapon at short. Good defense at second. And if he comes back, a very good offensive option at second base if he comes back to where he was. And remember, he was starting to trend that way at the end of the season. First base, Gold Glove, and a golden bat. You can't ask anything more than what Matt Olson gives you, and I don't care what anybody tells you in Braves country about how, we got to get Freddie Freeman back. He didn't want to be here. My God, that was 4 years ago. Can we move on? And Matt Olson, I'll take him every day and twice on Sundays over Freddie Freeman, especially going into the 2026 season, where he's still in his prime and Freddie's on the back end. I've still said for years that if Freddie ever has a falling out with his wife or whatever, there's a good chance we get Freddie on the back end of his career signing a DH role, but they're probably staying in California no matter what. All right, so what does that do? So left field, obviously, you have a couple of options. You can put Yaz, you can put Profar. At center field, most days it's going to be Michael Harris. Right field, most days it's going to be Ron Acuna Jr. But you have Yaz to move around in that outfield against right-handed pitching, and he has got a very good glove. If you've not seen the videos on him, I'll try to find some links and put them in our posts so it'll take you right there. He's got a very good glove. He's a little underrated, mainly because He doesn't play every day typically. And he is not, I'm not going to sit here and try to sell you a bill of goods that he's going to win the Gold Glove out there, but he's very good defensively. And he will give you a little better bat against right-handers than what Ha-Seong Kim will give us 162. I mean, he's going to give us someone whose OPS you can expect closer to 8 than 7. And when he's hitting well, he'll actually get over 8. And you're talking about a guy that can probably clock about 15 to 20 home runs himself in a limited role. And most likely the other outfielder we hold onto the roster is going to be Eli White, right? Because that gives you the right-handed version when you have a nasty lefty and you want to give Michael a day off, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know why you wouldn't keep Eli and Yaz. Then your infield option, who can play anywhere, and that's the only reason why we get rid of Eli is because he becomes tradable. But your infield option, who can play anywhere and in the outfield, is Mauricio Dubon. Yeah, honestly, Peter, you're talking about Yaz in his prime. He's not that far removed from most of the videos you probably saw. Like the ones that I saw were actually from last year. And he was making some running grabs. I mean, they showed a couple when he was with Kansas City. He got traded to Kansas City halfway through the year. So back to what I was saying about Dubon. Now Dubon becomes a chip that can move around the infield and outfield to give everybody a day off. Yaz does the same thing. I'm telling you, we're going to see a much more well-rested Atlanta Braves offense this season. You're going to see guys get days off as they should be getting. This hard-headed, old-school mentality that Snicker had of let them play, that's how they want to do, they want to play. No, sometimes you step in and go, I'm the manager, and we're not going to just let you play. You need to take the day off. You don't see it, but we see it. Sometimes it's just to rest. Sometimes it's to get over, aches and pains. Maybe you fouled the ball off your ankle, whatever. Sometimes it's just to clear your head. And then other times it's just to keep other guys sharp, and I'm here for it. I want to see a well-rested team that rotates guys in and out and goes on the pitching matchup of the day and can keep you fresh, and iron sharpens iron. When you're giving these guys the day off, when they come back, typically the next day they come back, they come out ripping it. You know who does a lot of that? It's the Los Angeles Dodgers. You know who did quite a bit of it last year? The Toronto Blue Jays. So these are teams that made it to the World Series, and they have depth on their bench, and that's what AA is finally getting to. I know he knew it to a degree, but it was never enforced because you had a lot of really young players. So the DH now, I think, is going to be primarily, it'll be Drake Baldwin. And you're going to give him days off from time to time. And you could hit that a number of different ways. You could put Yaz in the outfield to give an Acuna the day off, but you put him at the DH. You can give Murphy the day off altogether and have Drake Baldwin behind the plate. Our field's pretty much set. You still have one piece wiggle room you could change around. We'll see what they do. I would say the smartest thing would be to get as athletic as you can. You could carry a third catcher, but typically that's not smart to do because they don't give you a lot of offensive flexibility. And if Drake is DHing and Sean Murphy gets hurt in a game and he has to come out of the DH to catch, or vice versa, either way, I'm not trying to put the kibosh on anybody. You only have to get through that game and you can bring someone up from the minors, which means you would lose the starting pitcher, or you would lose the DH for that game because your DH would become the catcher and the starting pitcher would take the DH's batting role. But that's okay. It's one game, and as deep as the benches we have, it doesn't matter when it happens in the game, we could get through it. So I'm actually fine with, because I know Peter likes to joke we need to go get trying Travis d'Arnaud back, and I was one of the biggest Travis d'Arnaud fans, there was. I mean, I don't know if I'm as big as PETA, but I was a huge Travis d'Arnaud fan. I loved everything he brought to the game. I hated when he left. I was really disappointed, but when you saw what he signed for, you understood it didn't make fiscal sense. When you saw what you had coming in with Drake Baldwin, and you're already paying Sean Murphy $16 a year, then you would be paying Travis. He got $8 a year. I don't know if we could have possibly talked him into staying for like a 4 or 5 million a year. It would have been interesting to hear those conversations, but nonetheless, he's gone, and we're not getting him back. The only way we get him back, I think, would be end of the deadline trade to bolster the bench kind of thing. But there's a couple of different ways we could go, and they do have options currently on the roster, but I'm just spitballing right here that right now you've got left field, center field, right field. They're locked down with Profar, Harris, and Acuna. You've got the Yaz that can go out there and play the outfield, and if you still choose, you have Eli White. Any of those guys can rotate into the DH spot. And on the days that you may want to give Drake Baldwin the day off against a tough lefty as the DH, that's where Profar comes in, and Profar can slide in to your DH role with the switch-hitting right-hander. And you could put Eli out in the outfield if it's a tough lefty. You may decide to put Yaz out there in the outfield regardless, even if it is a lefty. But if it's a nasty lefty, go ahead and let Eli or someone of his ilk take the reins. Leon, we actually we re-signed Leon, but he's not an option. I mean, he's going to be down. Some of these guys you see us re-sign, they're down there for minor league depth. They're for the unfortunate event of, oh crap, he got hurt. And we know you're not going to go 162 games with everybody staying healthy. Not in the pitching staff and not in the starting nine. It's just not going to happen. You're going to get bumps and bruises. What you hope is if you give these guys extra days off in between, that they are going to perform better but also stay healthier. And it had to be a real concern going into this offseason, because the number one thing is last year. So if you remember 2024, we were banged up like hell in the offensive side of it. The pitching carried us. In 2025, the offense came out really slow. Do you think it might have had something to do with all those injuries from 2024? Lingering injuries? Maybe not even aches and pains, but maybe they got off to a slower start getting ready for the season. Because at the end of the day, you want to go out and have these guys not only just healthy throughout the entire year, but when they hit the offseason, they come back, you want them fresh. Now, we've got most of our starting nine, not counting Riley. Most of them should be good to go. Now, Riley should be ready by spring training, etc. But he is coming off another season where he missed the end of the year, so we don't know what kind of shape he's going to be in. I have faith that he'll get to it. But Riley never got his back going. And remember, he broke his damn hand at the end of the season 24. So my point is, the more times you give these guys off, the more games you give these guys off, they're going to be fresher. There's going to just be less chance of an injury, just because less chance of them getting hit by a ball if they're not staying at the plate. But the guys you're putting in there are not, and I'm not going to sit here and bash a bunch of guys who made it to the major league level, but you know who they are. They're guys that you don't want in your lineup on any given day. There were days where we looked at the lineup, and the first thing we did went, oh, man, 6 through 9 here, these are automatic outs. Well, we don't have that this year. And you got the depth at catcher. You got the super deep in the outfield. Now you're super deep in the infield because of Dubon. He is now a wild card. It reminds me of the days of, for those of y'all who grew up in the 80s or watched baseball in the 80s, into the early 90s, Jose Oquendo of the St. Louis Cardinals, he was exactly like Dubon. Now, Dubon's a little better, but I'll tell you what, Jose Oquendo, he played everywhere. He even caught. So we've got one of those types of guys. As far as I know, Dubon has not caught. I know he hasn't caught at the major league level, but hell, as talented as he is, he might have caught somewhere down on the farm or something. You never know, or in high school. But the point is, you can move him around anywhere, and he's got good speed, and he's got so much more base running ability than some of the guys we've had sitting on the bench. And now you no longer have, and look, bless his heart, we all loved watching him play, but you no longer have a Luke Williams, where you send him out there, what up, Stevie-O? If you're just kind of tuning in, Steve, and other folks that may be tuning in, Ha-Seong Kim, 1-year deal to the Braves, $20 million. He is back, baby. He's back. We're back. So just going over the depth. And the thing that I wanted to get to before we jump off here, because I told you I wasn't going to keep this really long. We started this right at 10. I'm going to try to keep it to less than a half hour. But let me jump to the fact that, so you got Suarez, right, as a closer plus. Because you got Iglesias, but Suarez can easily close games. He had 40 saves last year, and he's essentially going to be the closer going forward. You signed Dubon you signed Yaz. So now you've got a ton of depth. Good Lord, can we bubble wrap these guys and get them to spring? I'm already looking at and realizing Kim's going to probably play in the WBC. But I'm not going to kill any of these guys that want to do it, because you can get hurt in the WBC just as easily as you can get hurt in spring training. It is what it is. You could get hurt coming out of the damn shower. So it just is what it is. It's life. But as they used to famously say on SportsCenter years ago, when they would update an injury, they'd say, so-and-so is day-to-day, as we all are. But you've got super depth on that. You've added depth to your relievers. I still think they could make another move, a significant move for the relief pitching, but we'll see. But the next thing I think that's, if you're asking me what's on their agenda, what they have circled, and assuming I haven't missed it because I don't have my 3 other devices running like I normally do right now, it's the starting pitching. I do believe they're going to try to bring in one starting pitching veteran, because you love the depth, but Stevie-O says, why is it Stevie-O? My name is Matthew. I guess it's got to do with your email. I don't know. I'm just going off of the emails because that's what YouTube did. I don't have time to get back into that nonsense that YouTube's pulling. But anyways, if someone wants to fill them out in the chat, you can go ahead and do it. You got starting pitchers out there, and I do think they're going to try to sign one veteran, probably to a 1-year deal. So they have so much depth in starting pitching, they don't want to lock themselves up. But if they do get an opportunity to sign a younger veteran to a multi-year deal, they won't say no to it, because they know this time next year, Chris Sale's a free agent, unless we can talk him into it. Stevie-O's saying, who's UT going to be? Kelly, I don't know who UT is, but anyways. Or is it, who's it going to be? Well, that's what I'm getting to. I don't think there's any chance you're going to see Framber Valdez. He's going to want too much. It would be a perfect signing, but he wants a long deal, and the Braves aren't likely to give Framber Valdez, 32 years old, what he's wanting at this point, which is, sounds like to me, 32. He wants one to take him into the 37-year season. So we're talking about a 5-year deal. Other guys that I think are more likely to be out there. Now, someone's going to take a flyer on Jordan Montgomery and see if they can fix him, but you're not going to pay near what he got paid last time. His AAV last time was $25 million. I mean, this guy's going to have to be bottom of the barrel because remember, he ended up in the bullpen and wasn't even doing a good job for Arizona. So someone might take a chance on Jordan Montgomery, a 1-year prove-it deal. I would not be against it because I know what I saw in 2023 with Jordan Montgomery. That guy had a bulldog mentality. And no matter what anybody tells you, we called that World Series. Jordan Montgomery was the MVP of the entire World Series run for the Texas Rangers. Every time he went, he shoved. Now, whether or not, I'm not in tune with all his velocity and whatnot, but I wouldn't mind giving him a 1-year prove-it deal. But that's it with him. I think Lucas Giolito is a realistic shot, but what's he going to want? Because he had a pretty good year. And appreciate the kind words, Stevio. But you're looking at some of the guys that are out there that are realistic. I'm not going to go to the ones like, for instance, Justin Verlander. He's saying he wants to pitch another year. I think he wants to stay out in California. Think about what his wife does for a living. He enjoyed it out there. He probably goes back to San Fran, but somewhere in the California area. He may not go to California, but somewhere on the West Coast. I don't think he comes east. Let me see. And I'm assuming this is still current, but we've got guys that are out there that are interesting in the. Still, nobody has signed Shota Imanaga. I thought I saw a report on that. Anyways, I don't have the device on that I normally go to check all this stuff. Ranger Suarez is one that I would like because if you can't beat him, make him join you. We have never been able to hit Ranger Suarez. He's 30 years old. His last AAV was $11 million. He's going to want more than that. That's why he goes to free agency. And I don't have it in front of me, but I believe that was one of the pitchers that was assigned the qualifying offer. I know they gave it to Schwarber, but I thought they gave it to Suarez as well. If they gave it to Suarez, I doubt. I just don't think the Braves are going to give anybody that is tied to a qualifying offer is probably not going to get a real offer from the Braves because we draft. Was it number 9? And then our second pick is going to be 26. So we have 2 picks in the first round. You're not willing to give that up on a 1-year rental. It's just not going to happen. Not the way the Braves think. Other interesting names just to kind of kick the tires and keep an eye on. You got Brandon Woodruff. You've got Michael King. And once again, I had the list in front of me the other day, but I don't have it in front of me, so I don't want to quote on who's qualifying offer is not, so I'm just going to rattle them off real quick. A guy that I still think is worth his grain of salt. He made $4 million last year. He's going to be 37 years old. I get all that. But the guy will go out and eat innings. It's Jose Quintana. If you're looking to buy cheap, and I said it last year, he was phenomenal for the Brewers first half of the year. He ended up falling off at the end. You know what you do there? You don't worry about using him at the end of the season. You beat the hell out of him until the All-Star break, and if he starts to fade, you either toss him in the bullpen or tell him sayonara. Adrian Hauser will be an interesting one. And there was another name. I don't see it on here. Did he get signed? Oh, Brad Keller. And I have no interest. A few people have asked me about Cortez and Lorenzen. I have no interest in that. No interest in it. I just don't think I think they're past their prime. A guy that would be interesting because he used to give us fits. Then there was like a 3-year deal where he was terrible, but last year he was really good for the Texas Rangers, is Patrick Corbin. Patrick Corbin, to me, is a guy that you could probably sign cheap, but you never know. Sugano is another one. He signed a short deal with Baltimore. Didn't have a good year last year, but he was really good over in the Japanese league, and he had moments where he was okay. Once again, whoever we sign, don't expect it to blow your socks off. You do have Chris Bassett. What is he? Yeah, he's 37 years old. And Nick Martinez. I still think that there's a very good chance that Nick Martinez ends up back in Cincinnati, and Bassett probably ends up back in Toronto. But I'm a big fan of Chris Bassett across the board. I think he's an innings eater, and what he showed in October, if you watched the World Series along with us, man, that guy, you could go get him out of the pen. He'd give you 2-3 solid innings of just shutty ball, and that's not nothing when you're trying to bridge the 4th or 5th inning into the 7th. So that's about it. Having breakfast casserole right now? That's not too bad. We had a ribeye. So it's the first time we had steak in a long time. And I just was letting it settle and everything, watching TV, and I go, holy crap, we got a big signing. So I'm going to go ahead and jump out of here, y'all. See y'all next time. What is this, Monday night? I was debating on whether or not to jump on or not, but that Monday Night Football game is a snooze fest. We've got, I think the next time we're on is Thursday. Thursday night for the Acuna baseball game. That is at 6 o'clock Eastern. And we're going to do that 6 to 8:30. It's going to be a hard cutoff because when the NFL Thursday Night Football kicks off, nobody's going to watch the tail end of those games, and they've been dragging so bad. But we're going to come in and entertain you for a couple hours. Whenever I see the game kick off in the background, we'll wrap it up. But I still think it's a good thing to go ahead and do. Remember, Thursday morning we've got MLB Braves Country today. MLB today, we kind of pushed them all together. That comes on at 10 a.m. here on Thursday. 6 p.m. Thursday, we'll be doing the Acuna game. And then Friday night, for you football fans, we're going to be doing Bama versus Oklahoma, first round of the playoffs, and it should be a lot of fun. And everyone, thanks for tuning in for Army-Navy. We broke our record on views for that game. Channel's really starting to grow, and really is appreciated when you see people actually enjoying themselves. We ended up with 41,000, I think, were the views, which is still a small potatoes compared to like your big channels, but it's not nothing when you're a channel who's still trying to grow. Well, Brian, I hope we see you in there on Friday. I won't make a prediction on that game this Thursday, but I will tell you this: I would not bet against Alabama. I think it's incredibly hard to beat the same team twice in the same year in college football. So, y'all have a good one, and we'll see you, unless news breaks, we'll see you Thursday. If news breaks tomorrow night, we've got something going on for my sister's and my wife's birthday that we planned a long time ago, so I'll post it here on the YouTube channel, but I won't be able to do anything. But other than that, if something pops off on Wednesday or early tomorrow, whatever, we'll be here. Y'all have a great one, and go Braves, baby! Hassan Kim, baby! That's not nothing. That's the one I wanted the entire offseason, and I can't believe we actually got it. Because usually when I'm pulling for something to happen, it never happens. We always get some bum. We got the guy who's got a solid bat and a great glove, and there was no one else out on the market that you can say was like that at all. At all. Bichette, an outstanding bat, but he's a terrible glove. Y'all have a great one. Saturday, December 13th, 3 p.m. Eastern, it's the annual battle, the Army-Navy game in Baltimore, Maryland. Braves Country Radio will bring it to you live from coast to coast and around the globe. A salute to all the men and women who have served and continue to serve this great nation. This year will be the 126th meeting between the Army Black Knights and the Navy Midshipmen. Join us live, and we'll bring you play-by-play of America's game, Army versus Navy. 8 of the last 11 matchups being decided by one score, including the double overtime thriller in 2022. It's Army-Navy. We are Army. Navy-Army. America's game, heard around the world.